welcome back to Breaking Black Podcast. You are back with your host, Tina G, and our guest speaker today, Al, who is joining us as part of our Men's Month episode. Today, we're going to be talking about a pretty taboo topic, which is interracial relationships. Now, I've been seeing a lot of information online, a lot of information on social media buzzing about how people feel about interracial dating and interracial marriages. Some people are on the fence about it. Some people are on opposing sides about it. From those championing Black love to people saying that love is love and you can date whoever it is that you would like to. What are your thoughts about interracial dating? How do you feel about it?
Well, great question. Interracial dating. Well, just to start off, so you have an understanding. My wife is white and Black. Her mother's white and her father is Black. Growing up, I grew up in a Black family household. I remember the first time. I mean, I found as a young man, I found that I liked all different types of women. Okay, I seen the beauty in them. That's what I should say. I seen the beauty in them. Now I had a preference. I should say my preference were Black women. I used to always say as a young man, I would say in junior high school or around 18 or whatnot, I was like always, I would date a white girl and a white woman, and we dated and everything. When I brought the first white girl home, I was in junior high school. And I remember I never thought about it when I brought her by, but I remember thinking about it and asking my mother and my grandmother about it, see how they felt about it. I wanted to know, I wanted their opinion, their honest opinion. And they both told me the exact same thing. They said, if she loves you and she treats you right, I'm happy if you happy. And so from that point on, it was open to me in that area. Now, as I grew up to be a young man in my 20s, I started. At the time I was raised, I was raised in. I'm a 70s baby, so in that time frame, interracial dating was. It was kind of looked at kind of oddly, I would say, and I remember being aware of that and seeing the things that my interracial friends or friends who were Black and white, the things that they went through. And I always said that I would never marry a white woman because I didn't want my kids to have that type of issue. But hence, like I said, my wife is half white and Black. I love who loved me. Okay, so it didn't matter to me what color you were. It just mattered to me that you love me and you're gonna treat me the way I want to be treated. So that's my look on it, of interracial dating. I find that if you start holding yourself to one specific race, you're going to miss out on some love and some other things too. So to me, like I said, I found interracial dating not an issue with me. I think you do have to be secure in yourself, because sometimes you can be in a situation where it's you and your significant other, and you have a whole bunch of women that's might not like that situation, but that's on them. They had probably the same opportunities as the other one too.
Yeah, I find myself, I think it's a pretty complex topic in general, because there's so many different ways to look at it. And, I am like literally a proponent of all things Black. Like, I love Black culture. I love Black people. I love Black love. And, this is what we do here at Breaking Black Podcast. We talk about issues and experiences that are relatable to the Black experience, but that all people can understand, and life experiences and things that all people can identify with. So it's sort of like that space that's, bridging the gap between the Black experience and just the human experience. Like, I remember the first time that I ever went out on a date with somebody that was like outside of my ethnicity, outside of my culture. He took me, I was like really young, and he took me to go see Cornel West, actually. We went to go see Cornel West live because I used to love, like, I love poetry, I love Black art, like, I love spoken word, and I love Black history. And I remember when he called me up and he was like, I want to take you to this event, this live event. And he was like, you're going to love it. And I'm just like, where are you going to take me? And I go there and it's like straight up power to the people. Like, Cornel West is speaking at the event. He comes in. They're like, I said, they're snapping their fingers. They all know him. And I'm just like, wait, what? Like, this is my first date. This is the first time I ever date somebody, you know, outside of my ethnicity. And he takes me to this event and like, they're like, what's up, my brother? And they're all talking to him. And I'm just like, oh my God, right? So we listen to Cornel West, and we leave. He's got Sade playing in the car when we leave. And I'm just like, wait a minute, right? But I remember feeling like it was the most at home that I had ever felt. Like, just being at an event, all my people around, we got the drums going, you know, we got Black authors and activists on the stage. And it was like, we had this really intellectual conversation. I felt like it was like something out of like a movie, basically. And you know, it opened up my eyes because I was like not expecting that from him. And I felt like I couldn't tell you when the last time a brother picked me up and took me somewhere like that at that age. You know, I'm very particular about the type of men that I go out with and the type of men that I date. So I definitely date people that are immersed in our culture and are very socially aware of our culture. But at that time, I remember that being one of like my first experiences, and I like had the time of my life. I was half El Salvadorian and half white. So it was like an interesting kind of experience. But I was like, he loved Black culture, he loved Black music, he loved Black history and Black art, and it was like something that we bonded on. So I don't even think that as much as we talk about Black love can also sometimes come from outside of even just our own experiences, because there really are other cultures and other ethnicities that love Black people. And at the end of the day, it's kind of what you were talking about, that it all comes down to love, right? Because real love doesn't know any boundaries. But I think that when it comes to, you know, dating and marrying, that's always been something that I've kind of gone back and forth with, because I have been in experiences where I've dated, you know, outside of my race or outside of my ethnicity. And I have actually experienced like what I would call racism from, you know, a person that I've been out with. But it's an interesting thing because I think there are some subtleties there, and there's definitely nuances that you don't experience all the time. But I think when you're in situations that call upon, you know, that person's social awareness, or situations where they have to lead with empathy, you can oftentimes discover like kind of exactly where a person kind of fits in that particular scenario. And so like I've experienced that myself. And I also have, you know, friends that are in interracial marriages. And just recently, a friend of mine was telling me that they went to a town that was predominantly, you know, a white town. And a gentleman approached one of my friends who was married, you know, to a Caucasian man, and essentially basically said that, you know, that in his day, like, you know, this would have been illegal. Like, and, you know, and actually walked up to her. But what was interesting about having the conversation with her, he didn't approach the husband to say that. He said that to his Black wife. It's an interesting conversation because I think that there are a lot of African-American women that don't really understand sort of like this push or this interest in, you know, dating women, you know, outside of the Black community. Personally, I wouldn't say that it bothers me. I've grown up in very diverse places. And, you know, one of my parents was actually in an interracial marriage. But I also can see that when it comes to like some of our prominent figures, you know, some of our athletes, some of our, you know, CEOs, our, you know, music execs, our, you know, our A-list actors and things of that nature. When you start looking at figures that are either prominent in media or that are prominent in society, there does seem to be this sort of push to lean away from or against the African American woman, which is very interesting to me. I recently saw an NFL blog where they were basically talking about all the different professional football athletes that were not married to African American women. The irony of the recruitment in the NFL is that there are a lot of Black players, and many of those Black players come from Black households and Black communities. So it's almost like there's a push for this excellence from their athleticism, but when they get successful and they get famous, it's almost like the images of the Black wife or the Black girlfriend are not seen as prevalent.
Two things. When you said that man went up to that Black woman and said, in his day, this would have been illegal. I would love to know if her husband responded to that, if he said anything to that. Reason why I'm saying that is because when you're in a relationship or in a relationship, you have to be secure in yourself and who you are and what you want. And the reason why I asked that question is because if he didn't stick up for that woman and say something to that man, then that's the issue in itself. You know what I'm saying? Because no man is coming up to my wife saying anything and I'm standing there. You know what I'm saying? So he's going to have to address me. And if he doesn't, I'm going to interject myself into that conversation. Okay? And we're going to have me and him will have a conversation, So you're not going to approach my wife in any manner that's not respectful. So I know that guy, I don't know what he said, but I hope he said something to make sure his wife felt secure in that manner. Secondly, I've thought about this also with the Black athlete, and I believe a lot of it is mental. You know what I'm saying? And it has to do with loving yourself, loving your people, and loving who you are as well. I think everyone should love their race. You know what I'm saying? They should love who they are and their people and who they come from. Now, when you mix the two, and saying the athlete, he's been going through high school, college, and he's been and now he's in the NFL, and he's successful and all these things, and he marries a white woman. I mean, some of it to me is right time, right place. Some of it to me is want to have some type of status symbol. Just some things is just it can be organically the two people love each other and want to be with each other, but a lot of times, like I said, with the athletes, it's kind of hard to kind of pinpoint it, but it seems the way that, like you said, once they become famous, they want to, they outside their race. If they're a movie star, same thing. You see that a lot. But I do believe that if you have a partner, it doesn't matter. You guys are a team. You know what I'm saying? And I don't care who like me and my wife, we're a team. No one is coming in between the team. You know what I'm saying? No one can come in between the team. It's impossible. For me and my wife, I'm going to say that it's impossible. I mean, as a man, you have to, again, lead. You have to make sure that you're responsible for you and your family. You can't let other outside things distract you as being who you are. If you and your partner is a team, then y'all run the plays together and do what you need to do. I don't worry about the outside world of how someone else looks at me and my family and my situation, because none of them are helping me. So it doesn't affect me whatsoever, So other people have to understand that just because you see something you don't like it doesn't mean that it's this or that all the time. It's just what it is. Love is love. If someone's loved each other, that's one thing I do know. If you love each other, it doesn't matter what color you are or what size or shape you are. It's, love is love.
That's an interesting perspective, and I'm sure everyone in our audience is familiar with Mr. Dr. Umar. Now, I recently saw a video. I'm going to play the video, and I would love to hear your thoughts about this. And I'm also going to share my thoughts as well. Check this out.
Black men date out their race more than all other men put together. You know why? racial inferiority. We don't think we're as good as the white man, so we need the white woman in order for us to feel an artificial sense of equality. It is self-hatred to the 20th power. I'm not against white. Black.
I do understand where he's coming from. Oh, I believe I understand where he's coming from, but I don't believe that it's all self-hatred. It does. Well, that's part of what I said a little bit too. You have to be understanding who you are, love yourself, your people, and all these things too. But and he's probably right that black men probably date outside their race more than any other race. He's probably right about that. But then you have to understand. You have to look at the other race too. Why are they dating outside their race? If they're trying to look for something that they couldn't find from their people, they're looking outside, just like anyone else would. Eventually, like I seen Gary Owens, a comedian. He said, he dates. His wife was married, and I guess they're going through a divorce or whatnot. But his wife, him and his wife was married. They're both, and she's black. And he says, so I guess he got caught cheating, and he was like. So he said he was on a date or something, and someone asked him in the crowd, was she black? And he goes, they're always black. That's his preference. He figured that out when he was a young man. He said he found out whoever loves him, he loves them back. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes I believe that that's just what it is. I can see how I can see how Dr. Umar's statement can resonate with some people, and I don't think it's totally wrong. I just don't think. I don't know the percentages. That's what I would say. So it's just a real it's a real thing. It's a real thing.
I mean, he has an interesting take in the sense of like, he does it in this, sort of what some people find to be a comical way, talking about, the snow bunnies and, playing in the snow and it being a blizzard and all these different things.
Mahomes or Jalen Hurts for $15. Brother Chris, it's all about Jalen Hurts because he got a black queen forever. Snow bunny never.
I find him to be a riot at sometimes, though it can be crass in other, ways. I personally, it's interesting because I feel like I feel both of these spaces. On one hand, I would like the freedom to be able to explore love in its truest form. And I feel in a sense that in many ways, love endures all. And so I feel like whenever you experience true love or you feel true love, and that's really the motivating factor on why you choose a partner and why they choose you, at the end of the day, I don't know that has a color or shape or size or anything of that nature, as you spoke about before. But I will say that there is this common theme that you see with, I would say, some brothers and some sisters out there and others, where they don't really embrace themselves. They don't really embrace their culture, whether that is because they are in an environment that doesn't foster the positivity of that culture or the history of that culture, or whether they're pressured because they're in some high pressured field or or social climate that makes it more difficult. I still think that there is a push to sort of separate the Black family, and to separate the Black household, because as much as we want to feel like, you don't see color when it comes to love, we do see color when we're looking at society and our economical background and generational wealth and things of that nature. There are color lines there that we face. There are societal boundaries that we face and societal inequalities that we face. And so I feel like a lot of times those African-American men, they're not only not choosing to date us or court us or marry us, but they're also not there to father our children, to lead our villages, to rebuild our communities, to pour back into Black women. And so I think universally, I'm a little bit torn because, as I stated before, I like the idea of being able to date outside of my ethnicity, and I have done so before and will continue to do so if I see fit. But also, as an African-American woman, I can also see where oftentimes I look for Black male leadership and it's not as prevalent. And when I do see Black men settling down and being fathers, and settling into their marriages and being faithful to their wives and committed to their wives and contributing to their households, they often do this after they have experienced what it is to be with a Black woman and be loved by a Black woman and learn from a Black woman. But it is oftentimes not us who benefits from that in the end. And so I think that that's a real experience. And I think it's something that a lot of times our community doesn't really talk about, though we all, I think, wrestle with that behind closed doors. And so I'm curious, like, because I've seen this running theme of like when, an African-American man is kind of, growing and coming up and building, he has that Black woman by his side. But once he starts to excel and elevate and reach a certain level of success, he oftentimes will discard that African-American woman or that African-American family. And so it's difficult to be in a position where I'm a product of, Black parents. But, I've also seen one of my parents go through an interracial marriage and also have dated interracially myself. So I'm curious of what your thoughts are about that. And if you have any thoughts or feelings as an African-American man, and even someone who has married someone that was in an interracial, parentage situation, if you maybe have a different take on that or a different opinion about it.
I believe that when you're in an interracial, or you're dating, and you're dating or married or whatever it is, it's kind of hard for me to say. You said that when men are they growing, they're building themselves up, and all these things, and they're with Black women, and then once they're built themselves up, they kind of move on and go on to marry or be successful, going to marry white women or other women of different races. My question is this: how many of those people who do that, how long do their marriage last, and then who do they choose after? Because I can say, like, sometimes I believe sometimes you can have a relationship with a woman, and you can be in a relationship, and if you're not fully ready to lead in that at that moment, and you're trying to just be in a relationship, but there's no structure of that relationship, you're going to be going through the motions during that time. And then by the time you get to a certain time, you and that person been through a lot of things, and so now if you become successful and your values and things change. Now, to me, it has to be something before that, because I believe, me personally, if you're with somebody for a long period of time and they're helping you grow and you're helping them grow, I think that should be a togetherness thing that you should be following through and keeping going, and promises that you might have made, you make them come true, But I don't think men are just hey, I'm agree with you until now I'm successful and I'm dumping you and I'm going to someone else. I don't feel it's that. I think it's more to it, and I think guys will start to trying to figure out. Well, yes, when you become successful, you have more options. That's what it is. You have more options. You get more women are looking at you. More people are paying attention to you. You have more options, and some men don't know how to handle the options. That's all. They can't take all of this coming at them at one time when you be successful. So they just choosing whatever it is they like at the time, and then you find out whatever goes on along with that. But I do think that there's a lot of this has to do with how you're raised too, how grounded you were as growing up, and just your sense of morals and characteristics. Those things have a lot to play in those situations, and how you move and how you deal with relationships and growth, and success. Those things. So a lot of people who are successful don't know how to handle success. So You have to understand. Then now they're doing a lot of toxic things, dating a whole bunch of women, and trying to have one looking like he has one, but he's dating 4 or 5 of them on the side. So, it's a lot of things that success brings out of good and bad out of people.
I totally understand where you're coming from. I mean, I've always been on the fence about it. I support African American culture, African American families. I support the Black man. I support the Black woman. But I also just universally, I'm very accepting of just, the human experience and people from all walks of life, all different types of cultures, all different ethnicities. And so it's hard for me to embrace that as a Black woman, but then also know that, from my human experience, I'm very open when it comes to just welcoming certain type of experiences into my life based on how people treat me, how I'm received, and I do feel like love kind of goes past all of those boundaries and all of those, color lines, and a lot of those things that are set as precedents are set by other people, right? And we don't have to govern or live our lives by what other people ascribe to or what they believe should be something that we need to follow in our lives. And so I've always kind of, marched to the beat of my own drum. And I've never let, people's opinions about that stop me. So if I want to date an African American, or African man, I'm going to do that. If I want to date somebody that's outside of my ethnicity, no matter what ethnicity or culture they come from, that's something that I would definitely do. It's interesting too, because to your point, when we were talking about sort of like the variations with, those transitions, oftentimes I feel like it depends on how the relationship's being fostered too. So, back in the day, like you said, you had, you tried, a few different, dated a few different types of women and dated outside of your ethnicity. And I want to make it clear, we're not just talking about Black and white. We're talking about across the board, having all different types of experiences, because interracial marriages and interracial relationships encompass all different types of ethnicities and cultures and nationalities. But in just having those experiences, do you feel like, maybe there are some things that are more relatable in, how you experience the world as a Black man? Do you feel like as long as the person is just open and their mind is open, that they can help to support your plight as a Black man? Like, how do you feel about that?
Like that guy you choose with, he had some seasoning on him. He was seasoned. You know what I'm saying? The guy who took you to the poetry slam with, he was seasoned, and he knew what he knew what he liked. And that's the thing. I think that's the biggest thing. You have to know what you like. You know what I'm saying? If you think Hispanic women are beautiful or fine, you have to understand and like that and appreciate it. And I think that with any culture, if you two are mixing your cultures together, you're going to find good things that you like and bad things you don't like in any culture. You know what I'm saying? But most of the time you find more good than bad. That's what you want. You want to find somebody who's open to knowing you as a person, knowing you. When that person want to know you, that means that they need to know your family and have and want to be part of your circle, your family. You know what I'm saying? So if they're doing that, I think you're on the right track, because I've dated different nationalities and these things, but I found one thing is those people liked me and was interested in me and what I was doing and it wasn't even all about culture. It's just all about the person, what I'm doing, what I'm trying to do. And if you like me, like I said, my wife is Black and white. When we came together, I have a bonus daughter. She had a daughter. Her daughter is Black and white. You know what I'm saying? So I'm taking her with me to Martin Luther King Day. We're going to the museums. You know what I'm saying? I'm teaching her about her other side. So those things are important to me, because we're going to the Black festivals. We're going to, Juneteenth, and I'm showing her different things that she hasn't done before. And then you realize that she's interested in those things too. She's getting a better understanding of who she is. So you have to know yourself before you start interracial dating. You have to start really know yourself. And I just think that knowing yourself and knowing what you want, when you meet that person, and that person, if they have the same things then I think it's a smooth transition, to be honest with you. It's not a difficult thing. It's a smooth transition. So, you know, and then once you, like I said, once love comes in after that, it just doesn't matter no more. You know what I'm saying? It's who you are, and they love you for you. So that's the most important thing, I believe, is just liking somebody for who they are, and you know, getting to know them for them.
I love that you said that. I can appreciate that a lot. You know, to our audience out there, to fans of the show, let us know, you know, how you feel about these particular subjects. I'm pretty sure we have. I mean, I've seen our following. We have fans that come from all different backgrounds, all different ethnicities, all different cultures. So I'd love to hear your thoughts about how you feel about this particular subject when it comes to relationships, partnership, or marriage. In terms of dealing with other cultures or other ethnicities outside of your own, please drop us a comment. Let us know what you thought about the episode. If you're having any shared experiences in either being involved in interracial marriages or relationships, or if you're on the opposite side of that and you have typically only, you know, dated inside your own ethnicity. Maybe you have an interest in doing so. Maybe you don't. Drop us a comment. Let us know what your thoughts are about it. It's been a great episode. I appreciate your feedback with that, Al, because I think at the end of the day, you're right. It all comes down to knowing yourself very well, and also, you know, essentially leading with love and allowing whoever loves you to love you and receive that love. So you guys make sure that you stay tuned to Breaking Black Podcast. We're going to have more coming up for you next week. You're here with us during our Men's Month with Tina G and Al. Follow us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Patreon, and Pandora. And please make sure that you follow us on social media as well. We are on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Thanks for watching the show. See you next time. Stay tuned.